Kelly Rowland speaks out in defense of Chris Brown because of the backlash he's been getting. So basically, the AMAs booked Chris Brown, right, to perform, the 40th year anniversary of Thriller, right? So he was booked for that. And then the AMAs canceled Chris Brown's performance. And here's why. Here's why it was canceled. Give me a second. There we go. Boom.
And the Neighborhood Talk actually revealed that the owner of Puck Doc News, Matthew Baloney, was the one who had the performance canceled. Matthew claims that when he caught wind of Chris Brown's performance, he immediately contacted the higher-ups at Disney and ABC about the optics of the performance. He says that the prospect of a convicted domestic abuser celebrating an alleged child abuser on a Disney network wasn't the best idea. The higher-ups didn't even know about Chris Brown's performance until Matthew called and told them. The executives of the network didn't know about this, and they were furious, and they cut the performance completely. So
this is allegedly why it was canceled. And in all honesty, so there's this discussion going on online. People are saying, look at what people are saying, basically. So here's from The Game. The Game said, when they pulled Chris Brown's performance from the AMAs, all hip hop and R&B artists should have declined to ... But we will never be that unified, and that's why they keep and will always use us, suck the culture dry and disrespect us in our faces and behind our backs. And then this is from Jermaine Dupri.
The Chris Brown performance, then that means they canceled the 40th anniversary of Thriller, which means they canceled the Michael Jackson tribute. Black music, we in trouble.
Let me play that again.
Yo, if the American Music Awards canceled the Chris Brown performance, then that means they canceled the 40th anniversary of Thriller, which means they canceled the Michael Jackson tribute. Black music, we in trouble.
So that's Jermaine Dupri's take on all of that. And the AMAs responded, and they actually kind of denied this. This is what they said. AMA's production company responds after receiving backlash for cutting Chris Brown's Michael Jackson tribute. On Monday, in a statement, the ET and DCP spokesperson clarified that the tribute being pulled was a matter of creative direction and no fault of Brown's. Live shows change all the time. It's the nature of the business. Unfortunately, this element of the AMA didn't come together as we couldn't align on the performance. No fault of Chris Brown's, the statement read. Okay, so that's what happened, and here are my thoughts on the situation. Personally, oh no, my thing is slowing down, but personally, I believe that Chris Brown, at the end of the day, let's not forget what he did. A lot of people are not forgiving Chris Brown for what he did, and personally, I don't think that he should have performed. I agree with them canceling Chris Brown from performing. And I think there's accountability when it comes to media entertainment to not promote abusers and, people that have committed domestic violence. And I say all this because, when all these people, you always find it's always, The Game and Jermaine Dupri saying, we should fight for Chris Brown. But when Chris Brown beat up Karrueche, and I'm not even talking about Rihanna, which happened before, fair enough, he was a 19-year-old. He got prosecuted for that. But then he went on to beat Karrueche, his ex-girlfriend. And I didn't see him get prosecuted for that. And honestly, God knows what Chris Brown is doing to the women that he's dating now. God only knows, because after he beat Rihanna, he had a history of abuse towards women. He's also been accused of all sorts of horrific things. And the way I see it, like if it's one accusation, okay, it could be okay. But when there's multiple accusations, a restraining order was granted to Karrueche. And let's not forget, this guy has been in and out of jail, and there is evidence of him beating Rihanna, and he admitted to that. Well, there's a pattern here. And this is not the person that I believe that needs to be representing R&B and hip hop. And I think it's really unfortunate, because we have other very talented, R&B artists that are Black that could be celebrated for this. But because of where Chris Brown is in his career, he's the one that they keep choosing. I think in 2022, Chris Brown is not really relevant right now. That's number one. I also think that nobody has compared Chris Brown to Michael Jackson since like 2009. We're not comparing Chris Brown to Michael Jackson. If anything, you would compare Beyonce to Michael Jackson, not Chris Brown, because one thing that Chris Brown lacks that Beyonce has and that Michael Jackson had is innovation. Every time Michael Jackson came out with a new album, he innovated. And with Chris Brown, for the past 12 years, we've gotten the same dancing, singing singer. He's not innovating. He's not revolutionizing R&B. He's not doing anything like that. So I think it's a stretch to compare Chris Brown to Michael Jackson. I think it's actually, if you ask me, it's quite offensive to compare Chris Brown to the great Michael Jackson. Now, okay, Michael Jackson has been accused of abusing children, pedophilia, and that is absolutely disgusting as well. But I don't believe that Michael Jackson, I don't believe that was true about Michael Jackson. It was acquitted in court. At the end of the day, innocent until proven guilty. And Michael Jackson was proven innocent in court. But Chris Brown was proven guilty for domestic abuse. Right. So that's where I stand. And there's a lot of talk, especially around Black men, that is sort of like just kind of they're just kind of like trying to make us all support Chris Brown. And I just do not stand for that. So here are my thoughts. I actually posted this on my Instagram a few days ago, what I felt, or yesterday, what I felt about this, because I really felt strongly about this. And here's what I had to say. Whenever an abuser gets canceled, all of a sudden we're supposed to fight for them, but who fought for their victims? Sorry, but I didn't see Chris Brown go to jail for beating Karrueche, and God knows what he does to the current women that date him. Anyone that says the women deserve to be beaten because they choose to date a quote unquote high value man is part of the problem and an enabler of domestic abuse. Hopefully your mother and your daughters won't suffer from what you enable. So no, it is not water under the bridge until he's prosecuted. Settlements for rape and abuse cases, etc. should be illegal. It's a system designed to enable abusers. Finally, it's understandable that a company has finally come to their senses about not allowing such a disgusting human represent their brand. We don't stand with Chris Brown. I don't stand with Chris Brown. Quite frankly, he is so irrelevant in 2022. Please, he should give it up. Also, stop forcing Black people, especially Black women, to support their abusers and sweep things under the rug. So this is what I feel about that. I think it's really unfortunate that there's this pressure on specifically Black women to support the people that abuse them. But speaking of Black women, Miss Kelly Rowland stepped into Chris Brown's defense, which I thought was very interesting. So let me play this clip right here.
Chris Brown. is not here tonight, so I'm accepting this award on his behalf. Excuse me, chill out. But I want to tell Chris, thank you so much for making great R&B music. And I want to tell him, thank you for being an incredible performer. I'll take this award, bring it to you. I love you. Congratulations. And congratulations to all the nominees in this category. American.
So what happened there was Kelly Rowland, Chris Brown won Best R&B Singer, and Kelly Rowland, the crowd boos him. So it's clear that the people are not in support of Chris Brown. The crowd at the AMAs were booing. And at the end of the day, listen to your customers. If the mass population are not on the side of Chris Brown, why do people keep pushing for us to accept him after he's been an abuser? And what does that say to other people that are abusive to women, that they can get away with it? We don't see people celebrating Harvey Weinstein. We don't see people celebrating abusive people. And just because we know that Chris Brown was abusive to Rihanna, we know that he was accused multiple times of being abusive to Karrueche, and we know all this. We know he's been abusive to even men, starting fights in public. He's gone in and out of jail. He's been accused of rape multiple times. Some of it, he was accused, so there's no way to prove it. Some of it, he was proven to be guilty. Why do we have to keep supporting him because he's talented? So Kelly Rowland responds and says, Chris Brown deserves grace and forgiveness. We all come up short in some sort of way. So this is her statement here. I believe that grace is very real, and we all need we all need a dose of it. And before we point fingers at anybody, we should realize how grateful we are for every moment that we get, even for our own things that we have. I just think it's important to be humans. We are humans. I just think it's important to be humans. We are humans. We all need to be forgiven for anything that we could have done. We could be doing anything. What? We all need to be forgiven for anything we could be doing, anything that we are thinking. We all come up short in some sort of way, and grace is real. We are humans, and everybody deserves grace, period. This statement is so problematic, and I think I'm so disappointed because I just reacted to a video that Kelly Rowland, said the other, about Beyonce, and I think she's a great, incredible woman, and she's inspiration. She's a great inspiration, but the fact that you're saying that we deserve to be forgiven for things that we are doing, that we are currently doing, is problematic because that enables people to continue to be abused. That's saying that, okay, you can continue to abuse people, but we should forgive you in the action of you and perpetuate you doing that. Yes, forgiveness is one thing. I agree that we should forgive, but we should not forget, and we should not empower. That is my problem with the Chris Brown situation, because asking him to be celebrating Michael Jackson is pedestalizing him, is empowering him in a way that I don't believe that he deserves to be empowered, and neither do the Disney executives, neither do the AMAs, neither do a lot of people. We don't believe that he needs to be empowered. And it's so sad to me when I see, and I understand the way she's looking at Chris Brown, and she's appreciating him for his art. I personally became a Chris Brown fan, even after he had abused Rihanna. I had forgiven him, and I was a big Chris Brown fan. But when it came, how many years had passed, maybe 10 years, almost 10 years had passed, and then I found out that he was still abusive to Karrueche, and I found out that he apparently kicked her in the stomach or kicked her down. I can't remember. Don't quote me on this. But he abused her in a way that he either kicked her down the stairs or kicked her in the stomach multiple times. It was something really disgusting. And to see that, over those years, he had gone in and out of jail, and he had caused so many problems, even physical altercations in public with just even men. When I saw all of these things, as an adult with my frontal lobe developed, I decided that this is no longer the type of musician that I will continue to celebrate, that I would continue to accept. And the problem with someone like Kelly Rowland, a melanated woman, supporting Chris Brown, who abuses melanated women, it just goes into that. It just is the problem. Because all these people are saying, oh, forgive him, forgive him. We can forgive him, but we don't have to empower him. We don't have to pedestalize him. We don't have to, because that sends a message to other abusers that it's okay for you to abuse women because you will be forgiven and it will be forgotten. No, that's not acceptable. And as a role model for Kelly Rowland to speak out, because nobody asked her to speak out, she could have been silent. But for her to come out and speak out to promote Chris Brown, to me, that's extremely problematic. It's extremely unfortunate. And I understand as her peer and someone that has worked it towards her craft and understands how hard Chris Brown has worked towards his craft. I can understand why she sympathizes with him. Even if he's her friend and he's empowered her, he's put her on his tour, she's benefited off of him. So I understand where the support is coming from. But that does not mean that she needed to speak publicly, because she doesn't know the impact of her words and how it affects the random guy that's beating on his girlfriend or beating on his wife or his children's mother. She doesn't know how her words are empowering other people. And that's really the problem I have with it. It's not specifically about Chris Brown, but it's what Chris Brown represents. And it should be a lesson that no matter what industry that you work in, no matter what, whether you're a musician at the top or you're a painter or whatever, if you have poor relations, if not specifically poor relations, but if you are abusive, you stand the chance of losing your revenue streams, your stream of income. And that should be the threat. And that will encourage people to have decorum in every facet of life, because that means you could lose your bread and butter. Is abusing a person worth you losing your bread and butter? When there's accountability in that way, it forces people to act like humans. Because a punishment, because accountability forces people to have decorum. That's why people in developed countries act civilized. That's why people don't, go around shooting and killing people, not because they're morally correct, because there are a lot of morally bankrupt people or morally corrupt people. Not because they're morally corrupt, even though that would be the idealistic reason for you not to go around beating people and killing people. But hey, we can't hold everyone to that. But because if you do this, you will be punished for it. And okay, Chris Brown did not do the time. If he went to jail for this, it would probably have been better, because we could say, well, he did the time. But I didn't see him go to jail for it. All I saw is him pay his way out of jail. So if you're not going to go to jail for what you've done, well, then you're going to pay in the court of public opinion, and you're going to be in jail in our public opinion. And no, we don't want you performing at the AMAs. We don't want you performing at any ABC awards. We don't want you in any of these places. Let's stop, especially as Black people, let's stop empowering abusers and forcing Black people, especially in the Black community. This is a massive issue, but this applies to all races. Let's stop forcing victims to enable and sweep under the rug the abuse from their abusers. Those are my thoughts. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. And I'll see you next time. Peace and stream.